Welcome back. The Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency says the 2020 presidential election was the most secure election in American history. That statement came just a couple of days before leadership shakeups at CISA. Ron Marks is president of ZPN National Security and Cyber Strategies, former CIA official and former intelligence advisor to two Senate Majority Leaders. Ron, welcome. It's good to see you. The shakeup at CISA doesn't seem to be linked directly to the declaration that that this election was the most secure in history, but there are a lot of people that think there's a connection. What connection could that possibly be?
Well, my first thought on the subject was now CISA has established its importance sufficiently that it's made the White House angry and somebody got fired. I think, frankly, first of all, it is a tribute to CISA that how well this all worked. This is a real crowning achievement for them. That election commission, all the things attached to it, very difficult. They managed to identify up front from Iran, from Russia, other places, different inserts into our system here. They managed to keep track of potential problems with voting. I mean, it was really well done. So I'm sure that in the interregnum between the end of this administration and the next one, that someone described as the equivalent of an open city in war, where the one set of troops leaves, the other one's starting to arrive, and everything is happening, not necessarily good, that you'll probably see some more pressures there. There's some people, obviously, in the White House who are unhappy with Brian Ware and Chris Krebs, although Chad Wolf seems to be discovering for Chris Krebs for now. But I think Krebs should be congratulated. I mean, he really did a wonderful job and really established CISA as a player.
Quick sidebar, this doesn't mean that the war is won, though. Every election will be a battle like this. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think so. I think going forward, what you've now seen is the pattern, which is that just by virtue of the availability of social media and, frankly, the way it just lives in our lives now, the ability to put out false information, the ability to persuade people, is an omnipresent part of our life, and it's as close as your iPhone, and it's there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Concern as we develop the system of voting, as we use these computers, these different machines. You've heard some objections to some of the machines that are being used. Can they be played with, etc.? None of that's going to go away, and I think you saw a pretty good shakedown cruise here that worked very well. But I think going forward, 22, 24, 26, et cetera, we're just going to have to watch out for it, because that's just the nature of life in the third decade of the 21st century.
So the situation at CISA, with the potential changes there even before the Biden administration comes in, same kind of discussions happening around the intelligence community. What's this mean for the broader national security, intelligence, cyber community, Ron, when names are changing and then they'll change again in a month and a half?
I always found that one of the more interesting parts of being at CIA, and certainly where I was for a while and at some executive level there are two levels going on here. There is the executive suite level, whether it be Nebraska Avenue or whether it be 7th Floor CIA or at Liberty Crossing. Each of the headquarters there, where everybody's playing the name game. Who's in charge? What are we going to do? Our names being shifted around here. And then there are the people, and I think it was Jim Clapper referred to the dog barks and the caravan moves on. There are people who've sworn their allegiance to the Constitution of the United States. They come into their office every day. They get their job done, and they're going to do it no matter who's in charge. So if this were a period of a year, for instance, I would look at you and say, okay, fine, we may have some people can't move ahead with policy or whatever else. I think, now that we're less than 60 some odd days into hit this, people anticipated that there would be a shift over because of an election. It would have happened even if the Trump administration had won. Second terms are notorious for shifting around personnel. So I think everybody who's actually needs to do what they're doing are continuing to do it, no matter which names are being tossed around.
Does it matter to the national security or cybersecurity of the United States that these folks would leave because somebody in the White House says get out, rather than the normal attrition that one would see at the end of an administration when one leaves to spend more time with one's family or take a private sector job?
Yeah, I think it does. It sends a terrible message. I think to the world. I think it sends a message that says, look, here's some. We're looking at transition of power of a country with 330 million people, 5,000 nuclear weapons, and the #1 economy in the world. We cannot handle this like a third world country. In fact, it's a bit of an insult to third world countries. We have to do this in a way in which it's an orderly process. The intelligence community alone, if you can't think of it any other way, think of it as an $86 billion organization with several 100,000 people in it. Homeland Security is a 40 some odd billion dollar organization with 100 and some odd thousand people in it. Just from a structural and budgetary standpoint, you have to have order for these organizations, and you cannot make it look as though you're just sort of rolling the ball down the road and walking away. It doesn't work that way, and especially in a day and age in which the threats are instantaneous. What are we going to do if there's an Al-Qaeda attack, God forbid, or an ISIS attack, God forbid? What are we going to do if there's another bio breakout? What are we going? I mean, you just sort of run down the list of horror shows. Never mind the fact you have the usual list of suspects in Iran and North Korea waiting to do something, as they always do in these kinds of periods. So, again, bad precedent. I think it's an unusual one. I don't know whether we will ever see this again, but nevertheless, this is just not good.
Ron Marks, thank you very much. Great to have you back.
Thanks, Francis. Delighted to be here.